Syria voted this Sunday. It was its first major vote since the ouster of Bashar al-Assad in December 2024, and a milestone in Syria's shift away from the ousted regime of Assad. This was a parliamentary election, but it was neither direct nor fully representative. It was not a direct election because the public of Syria did not vote directly. It was not fully representative because some regions were kept out of the process. So what do these elections even mean? Was it an election for a new parliament or a selection that serves to further consolidate the grip on power of President Ahmed al-Sharaa? Let's connect the dots. So if the people did not directly vote in the parliamentary election, who voted? It was a tiered and indirect voting system. First, local subcommittees selected electoral bodies, and then those electoral bodies elected People's Assembly representatives rather than citizens themselves. The Syrian parliament is officially called the People's Assembly of Syria. On Sunday, a combined 6,000 electors cast their ballots at regional electoral colleges. Syria has 210 parliamentary seats. Sunday's vote determines nearly two-thirds of those 210 seats, but the body will not be formally established until President al-Sharaa, a former al-Qaeda fighter, selects the remaining one-third. This has led to criticism that the exercise concentrates power heavily in Ahmed al-Sharaa's hands. Critics say that by directly appointing 70 out of the 210 parliamentary seats, al-Sharaa can effectively shape a parliamentary majority loyal to him. He could weaken the independence of the legislature and consolidate executive dominance over the new political system. In fact, al-Sharaa had significant influence even over the selection of the electoral bodies. That's because the Higher Committee for People's Elections, an 11-member body responsible for managing the electoral process, was itself appointed by President al-Sharaa. This committee oversaw the formation of local electoral subcommittees and electoral colleges, which collectively selected two-thirds of the parliamentarians. More than 1,500 candidates were in the running for parliament. What's more, there is suspicion and controversy surrounding al-Sharaa's background as a former al-Qaeda fighter and rebel commander. Some international observers and rights groups worry about his past extremist associations and question the legitimacy and transparency of his political role. So what was the criteria to select the parliamentarians? Listen to this elector.
To be honest, we have set criteria in our groups through dialogue. We have set precise criteria to choose the most qualified so that they are not sectarian, narrowly regional, or use tribal rhetoric, and that they know the difference between governance and administration, and between the executive authority and the legislative authority.
Sharaa's transitional government says the aim is to have technocrats and academics as 70% of parliamentarians and notable community figures as 30% of parliamentarians. And what do the people of Syria feel about this electoral exercise? While some are hopeful, others are skeptical about this process leading to any meaningful change.
Frankly, I am not hopeful for anything. I have no hope for anything at all. Nothing. I hope that something will happen for the better. I wish as a person that something will happen for the better, but I have no hope for anything at all. I do not know. I do not feel that anything new will happen that will move us forward so that the coming days will be better than the past. I wish for that to happen, but I do not know.
These are the first elections that Syrians are participating in since the fall of Bashar al-Assad. We hope that they will proceed towards the better, God willing, through integrity and through people who will be competent for all of Syria, not just for the city of Aleppo. The second thing is that we hope, God willing, it will be a prelude to the upcoming People's Assembly elections through the full participation of the Syrian people through voting and candidacy.
And here's why there was no direct vote by the public in this election.
There are cities that are completely destroyed. More than half of the Syrian people are still displaced. Many people do not have documents. There is no infrastructure that allows for direct mass elections for all the people.
Besides voices within Syria, international actors, including the European Union and the United Nations, are stressing on the need for eventual full popular participation. So while rights groups criticize the indirect electoral process as one that concentrates power in al-Sharaa's hands and lacks representation for Syria's ethnic and religious minorities, Syria's interim president, Ahmed al-Sharaa, defends it as the best possible scenario in the given circumstances.
It is true that the electoral process is not fully complete, but it is a moderate process that suits the current situation and circumstances in Syria, and it also suits the transitional stage.
Now the question is, why was this indirect vote not truly representative? Parliamentary seats are distributed by population among districts, but 3 entire provinces. Most notably, Kurdish-administered areas and the Druze-majority Suwayda were excluded. This leaves the 21 seats in parliament vacant until a vote can be held there. Elections were indefinitely postponed in these areas due to tensions between the local authorities and the central government in Damascus. Their exclusion, as well as the lack of set quotas for minorities, raised questions about representation of communities that are not part of the Sunni Arab national majority. The issue has become particularly sensitive after outbreaks of sectarian violence in recent months, in which hundreds of civilians from the Alawite and Druze minorities were killed, many of them by government-affiliated fighters. Listen to some of the residents of those areas that were excluded from the indirect electoral process.
We believe
that the elections announced by the transitional government are illegitimate. Syria has just emerged from a long war and has entered a new phase. Hundreds of thousands remain internally displaced and millions are refugees abroad.
The policy being pursued is unilateral and authoritarian and could lead to undermining and destruction of the country's unity.
Here's what we know about the winners.
As for the statistics, approximately 96% men and 4% women. The Christian component will have only 2 seats, which is a weak considering the proportion of Christians in Syria, and women's representation is not proportionate to the status of women in Syrian society and their role in political, economic and social life.
So what will the new People's Assembly do? It is a transitional parliament under the authority of the Syrian transitional government and the 2025 interim constitution. Under the interim constitution, the incoming parliament will exercise legislative functions until a permanent constitution is adopted and direct public elections for the next term are held. While its term will be of 30 months, it can be formally extended if the transitional authorities or the constitutional process deem that more time is needed for political stabilization, legislative reforms, or preparation for future direct elections. So what are the concerns going forward? Despite the new parliament, actual power remains centralized under interim president Ahmed al-Sharaa. Also, the exact distribution of power in future between the president and the parliament remains unclear. The new parliament has a legislative role but is seen as primarily a transitional body with limited independence under the prevailing political conditions. The transitional constitution gives broader executive powers to the president, including appointing ministers and issuing decrees. and emphasizes executive control in this phase of Syria's fragile transition. Also, to reiterate a point we made before, millions of displaced Syrians, especially refugees abroad and residents of Kurdish-controlled northeast and Druze-majority Suwayda province, are effectively disenfranchised, with seats for these areas left vacant. Besides that, supporters of the former regime of Bashar al-Assad were not eligible to be candidates in this election. So to sum it up, while within and outside Syria, some see the indirect parliamentary election as a step towards a more representative future, others believe the process risks deepening divisions if reconciliation and a more rigorous and open democratic approach are not pursued. While the 2025 Syrian parliamentary election is historically significant, it is an early and imperfect stage in Syria's fraught transition. This could be a vote for stability and gradual reform, but not yet a full realization of democratic ideals. Every day, we expect our food or groceries to arrive quickly. But imagine your pizza being delivered to your doorstep by a robot instead of a delivery person knocking on the door. That idea is no longer science fiction. Delivery robots are active in many places in the world, and even drones are doing these jobs. Let's see how this works, where it's happening, and what could it mean for all of us. The idea of autonomous delivery robots took shape in the mid-2010s. One of the earliest companies was Starship Technologies, founded in 2014 by two of the founders of Skype, Aarti Hainla and Janice Fries. Starship did trial runs in 2016 in cities such as London and began full commercial service in 2017. By 2017, its robots were also operating in Estonia without human minders. This was a milestone in public autonomous driving.
This is the world's first delivery robot, and it's suited for parcel delivery, grocery delivery and food delivery. And we're aiming for 15 to 30 minute, 24/7 on-demand delivery for around about $1 in the future.
Today, delivery robots are in use in many countries. Starship runs operations in the UK, Finland, Estonia, and across the US university campuses.
It has 9 cameras around the front and back. It has two-way audio, so we can listen to people and talk to people in the environment around the robot. When the robot's doing a delivery, the lid is locked, so you don't know what's inside and you can't get in. And also, if you try to pick it up, there's alarms that sound. So it's very, very difficult to get away with stealing our robot. And of course, it's tracked to the nearest inch, so we know exactly where the robot is.
In Japan, Uber Eats began robot deliveries in Tokyo in 2024, the only in limited zones for now. Robots by Panasonic, such as Hakobo, are being tested with advanced features like obstacle detection and traffic light recognition. So how does this technology work? Delivery robots are a mix of hardware and software. There are 4 key components. First, sensors and cameras. GPS, cameras, LiDAR and depth sensors help robots detect obstacles and know their position. Second, autonomy. Many operate at level 4 autonomy, meaning they can complete most routes on their own, but humans can intervene remotely in tricky cases. Third, control centers. Operators can monitor multiple robots at once, stepping in when needed. And fourth, communication and mapping. Robots use detailed sidewalk and street maps, planning safe paths while learning from their environment. Alongside ground robots, drones are also being used for deliveries. In Dublin, startup Manna Aero delivers coffees and pizzas with flying drones in suburban neighborhoods. Amazon Prime Air is expanding its drone services in the US in states like Arizona and Texas. The latest drone, the MK-30, is lighter, quieter and designed to fly in light rain. Plans are underway to expand to the UK and Italy. So what are the benefits of delivery robots and drones? First, lower costs for last mile delivery, especially in small towns or low density areas, since robots don't need wages or breaks. Second, environmental benefits, as most are electric and emit less pollution than cars or motorbikes. Third, speed and efficiency, with drones delivering quickly and robots making multiple short trips without needing parking. And fourth, support for small businesses, giving local shops a cheaper way to compete with larger chains. And drones have their own problems: air traffic rules, noise, and crash risks. For example, Amazon had to investigate drone crashes in Arizona in October 2025. Now comes the big question. Will robots and drones take away jobs? Some say yes. With machines doing simple deliveries, fewer human couriers may be needed. And companies investing in robots might cut back on human labor. But others disagree. Starship's CEO argues robots will meet rising demand for deliveries while humans focus on more complex tasks. New jobs may also be created in robot maintenance, remote operation, mapping, and software. Studies also suggest that while automation may hurt some low-skill jobs, it can increase productivity and open new opportunities. So what might the future look like? We may see more cities integrating delivery robots and drones into daily life with clearer rules and safer designs. Sensors and autonomy will improve. Perhaps there may be a hybrid model where humans and robots work together. Humans handling exceptions, robots handling predictable, local, small deliveries. So what's the scene in India? Delivery robots here are still in early stages. Most deployments are in controlled areas like airports, gated communities, and college campuses. In September 2025, Hyderabad's Rajiv Gandhi International Airport became the first in India to use food delivery robots at boarding gates. Robotics firms like Milagro Human Tech are offering indoor delivery robots for restaurants, hotels, and offices. But challenges remain: crowded streets, low-cost human labor, and regulatory gaps. These factors slow down wider adoption. So the delivery robots and drones are not just ideas anymore. They are real, working in cities around the world. They bring the promise of cheaper, faster, greener deliveries. But the key question is, will these robots reshape the delivery ecosystem, or will they create more problems? Only time will tell. That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you in the next episode with more raging issues. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Munmun Bhattacharya signing off. Take care and stay safe.